Hello everyone, welcome back. A few videos ago we spoke about psychedelia from the 60s. Now let's talk about neo-psychedelia from the 80s and onward. I've chose 10 favorites. So let's start off here with 1980s Kaleidoscope by Susie and the Banshees. Great seminal album here, released in 1980. I first heard of Susie and the Banshees from the song Christine, which is an amazing song. I heard that on K-Rock probably in late 80, and I was blown away by it, that it had that kind of vibe, that kind of psych vibe. And I haven't heard this album in years, so I played it a few nights ago. Man, what an album. It is some dark shit on here, but good stuff. Of course, it has, Happy House. The one song in here that really is disturbing to me, but I love it, is called Trophy. And then it ends with another real disturbing tune called Skin. But the whole album just is full of Susie's just originality. I mean, there's nobody really like her as a performer, as a singer. Maybe she's not the greatest singer, but I've always loved her voice. She's a complete original. And then, of course, John McKeoch. His guitar playing is phenomenal. I forgot what a great guitar player John McKeoch is. And I want to delve more into his discography with other bands like Magazine since listening to this album. But a great album, great listen, and I guess this is considered one of the first post-punk albums, but it's definitely a neo-psychedelia classic as well. So Kaleidoscope by Susie and the Banshees from 1980. We're going to do this in chronological order here. Moving on, another great album from 1980 is the Sop Boys' Underwater Moonlight, featuring Robin Hitchcock and Kimberly Rue, who later joined Katrina and the Waves. Some great songs on here. It starts off with I Want to Destroy You. Kingdom of Love is the second track. And I also love Queen of Eyes. But the whole album is really good. Has that kind of mid-60s kind of revolver sound, I guess you'd say. Guitar sound. But a great album from 1980, the Sop Boys, Underwater Moonlight. Another one from the early 80s is the First Church album of Skins and Heart. This came out in 1980, but I actually prefer the American counterpart, just called The Church. This kind of leans more on their singles of the time. The album is just flawless. To me, this is one of the great albums of the 80s. Everything from Unguarded Moment, Too Fast for You, For a Moment We're Stranger, Tear It All Away, Don't Open the Door to Strangers, all on side one, just flows perfectly. And then some real moody pieces on side two, Bel Air. I love Sisters, Memories of Future Tense, and Is This Where You Live, the long closer. Great stuff. I did see this band back in 1982 at the Palace in Hollywood. Not too exciting live, but great on record. So The Church coming in here, 1982, debut, self-titled, The Church, the American release. Next is 1982's The Days of Wine and Roses by the Dream Syndicate. Great album here. Of course, you hear the influences all over this album. You hear Velvet Underground, you hear some Pink Floyd, a lot of Jefferson Airplane influences. Kendra Smith was in this band initially. She left. I believe she went to Opal, I think. Opal. But the whole album is fantastic. Tell Me When It's Over, Definitely Clean, that's what you always say. Halloween Inside One, When You Smile. I think this is their best album. They had other albums after this, plenty of other albums, but I think this one is their most consistent. Steve Wynn on vocals. We have Carl Procota on guitar, Dennis Duck on drums, and Kendra Smith on bass. Days of Wine and Roses from 1982. They were part of the Paisley Underground scene, along with Green on Red, Rain Parade, 3 O'Clock, Bangles, back in the early 80s. But I think this is one of the best Paisley Underground albums of that era. Coming up is 1987's Lolita Nation by Game Theory. Great underrated band. I was really into these guys back around 85, 86, 87. This is their third full-length album. And it's kind of like their, I guess you could say it's kind of like their White Album. It's like the 1980s White Album. A lot of experimentation, a lot of sonic weirdness going on all over the place. But along with all the weirdness is a lot of great songs. We Love You, Carol and Allison, Andy in 10 Years, The Real Sheila, that should have been a big hit. This is a double album. On this album, they brought in Donette Thayer on guitar and vocals. Of course, you got the late Scott Miller, who wrote all the material. And just a great album. I saw them on this tour. I believe it was at the Music Machine in LA, West LA. Great show and great album. I don't know if you could still get this. I think they did release these on CD after Scott's passing, but this is an original vinyl that I picked up the day it came out. That's what a diehard fan I was of this band at the time. But great album, Lolita Nation, definitely fits into the Neo-Psychedelia format. A lot of just weirdness on here, but a lot of great songs. Lolita Nation, Game Theory, 1987. And coming up next is 1987, Sonic Sunspot by the Dukes of Stratosphere. Of course, the alias name for XTC. I think when this came out, a lot of people didn't realize it was XTC. It did end up getting quite a bit of airplay on local station K-Rock, KROQ. Of course, they're mimicking a lot of the greats on here, but doing it their own way. You hear a lot of Syd Barrett on here. Oh boy, a lot of those late '60s psychedelic acts. "Vanishing Girl" was the song I first heard, and I had to get this album. But there's a lot of other great stuff. "Kaleidoscope," I think, was written by Colin Moulding. "You're My Drug." It just flows well, like a real psychedelic album. So this is 1987's Sonic Sunspot from Dukes of Stratosphere from 1987. Moving on to the late 80s, we got the debut from the Stone Roses. I just listened to this the other night. Fantastic album from start to finish. I love how it starts with "I Want to Be Adored." I love "Waterfall," "Don't Stop," and then, of course, the epic "I Am the Resurrection," ending the album, 8 minutes and 12 seconds of it. But again, another great guitarist here in the Stone Roses, John Squire, very underrated. Stone Roses, I believe, only put out 2 albums, but this is the one to have. Great album. Lead singer Ian Brown doing his best singing on this album as well. So this is coming in from 1989, Neo-Psychedelic albums, the Stone Roses self-titled album. Next is, we're going to move on to the 90s, to Mazzy Star's "So Tonight That I Might See." Great album. Of course, it has the classic "Fade Into You." A lot of the songs do sound alike on this record, but maybe that's the charm. It really is a laid-back headphone listen. I love "Five String Serenade," written by Arthur Lee from Love. And then "Into Dust" is a nice mellow tune. But there's something about Hope Sandoval's voice. It's really soothing and really chill. And just the whole accompaniment, very basic accompaniment, just creating a really cool atmosphere. Love this album. "So Tonight That I Might See," Mazzy Star from 1993. Moving into the 2000s, we got "Oracular Spectacular" from Management. It's got a lot of airplay when it first came out. I don't really hear it that much anymore, but of course the song that starts it off, "Time to Pretend," great song. I love the song "Electric Feel." And my personal favorite on here is "Pieces of What." Great little psychedelic acoustic number. So this came out in 2007. This is Management, "Oracular Spectacular." And then the last one I'm going to showcase is one of the best albums I've heard in this category, the Neo-Psychedelic category, and that is the first Tame Impala album, "Inner Speaker." This is really a almost flawless record. So many great songs, so much great atmosphere. Kevin Parker truly is one talented guy, multi-instrumentalist. Love his guitar playing on this album, but unfortunately on further albums there isn't much guitar, so this will always be my favorite so far of the Tame Impala catalog. It starts off with "It Is Not Meant to Be," great opener, and then I love "Desire to Be Desire Go." Desire Be Desire Go. And then my 3 favorites are "Lucidity," "Solitude is Bliss" is amazing, and "Expectation." The whole album just has this flow to it. I mean, this is Neo-Psychedelia in the 00s, the millennium at its best, in my opinion. So A real favorite of mine in the recent years, Tame Impala's Inner Speaker from 2010. And there you have it. There are my favorite 10 neo-psychedelic albums. What are yours? Leave them in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Please press subscribe. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.